Hi everyone, Howard from StartupRemarkable.com here. How do you start a fast-growing startup? This man knows. Dan Martell, he's started a couple in his day. And Dan, you're the first person to come back for the second time on Startup Remarkable. It was about a year ago, our first interview. Awesome to have you back, dude.
Thanks, man. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That's a good thing. Definitely a good thing.
So, everybody else ran away?
Yeah. So, okay. So you've started a few things in your day. When you're 24, Spheric, have I pronounced that right? Spheric? Yeah. Spheric.
Yeah.
Grew that, sold it, and then Flowtown after that, grew it, you sold it just over a year ago, I think.
Yeah. And it's actually exactly a year ago, October 1st.
Is it? Amazing. And you decided, instead of staying there and kind of vesting out your time there and stuff, that you're just going to go and start up another thing, Clarity. Isn't that right? Which you
I call it vesting in peace. I just couldn't do it.
Right. Cool. A lot of respect for that. So you did that, and Clarity now, in the space of a year. So I remember when we were at Future Web Apps in London, you were telling me about this new concept that you had, and it's amazing how fast and how big it is now, because you've just like last month you hit your 10,000 call, isn't that right?
10,000 calls, 6,000 members or experts, 42 or more than that now, 50 countries, something like that.
Amazing. So like, I use it all the time. I recommend it to everybody. So maybe I just want to go through a few things on how you built Clarity, and then let's kind of at the end of the call, let's start talking about a few ways to get the most out of Clarity calls, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So what you learned with Flowtown and Spheric, I'm going to call it, right?
That's cool, man.
That's cool. Tell me, what you learned, you must have made a load of mistakes. So when you were starting up Clarity, did you have some kind of process, some kind of like ingredients? You're going to go like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, I mean, the lessons are always the same ones, just what do you do in what order. So, I mean, team hiring, that would be number one. Hiring absolutely brilliant, remarkable, amazing people. So day one with Clarity, I pretty much said, who are the smartest people I know? I called them all up. A lot of them are doing their own startups or got acquired and working at the acquirer. But yeah, so then put a great team together. That was step one. Second was get a product out in front of users as fast as possible. I mean, you were probably one of the first 100. I wouldn't even call it alpha. It was just like this ghetto but useful app I built that nobody else could sign up for. Users.
How long did it take you to get that first version out to users, Dan?
Well, I built the first one myself. It probably took about 2 weeks. But I mean, the first version was just a form that people could fill out to get on my call list.
Yeah.
There was no product. It was just like a form, and then it did all the dialing and stuff. So, I mean, the product's evolved quite a bit, but so I would say team, product, get something in front of real users as soon as possible, and talk to them and watch them use the product and learn from that and keep making it better. And then the third thing is continuing momentum, and I think that's one that I've seen now doing, the last few startups is. If you've got momentum, like continuously, like try to deploy features, engage with the users, get some traction, because you don't want to kind of have a bump and then have it stop. So, we were really particular about like what we announced to who, when we announced it, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we did in January, we launched to a small group in my home province in Canada called New Brunswick.
Yeah.
So that was for charity, and we only did that, 1,200 people. And then we kept it kind of enclosed, whatever. I don't like the word alpha, beta, whatever. We kept it closed, geographically restricted, learned a lot. And then in May, we launched it publicly. But at that point, we were already like 3,000 or 4,000 experts, and we were growing. So, when we launched it on TechCrunch in May, we already had a lot of users. And then, a few months later, 3 months later, we announced that we broke 10,000 calls. So nice. I just feel you don't want to optimize for like these sound bites, but there's definitely some things you can do and push back to ensure that there's a really clear momentum to grow. Yeah.
So if someone's just beginning, right, and they were at the start of that journey and maybe hadn't done that before, how would you kind of tell them to optimize for that kind of momentum? Because I've really seen the momentum and it's been amazing.
Yeah, I mean the pattern is to slow roll it to your personal network. I mean, people want shortcuts, and I will tell you firsthand, the first 1,000 users on Clarity was manually in person. People don't believe me, but you were at an event and I introduced Clarity to a dozen people. I said, pull out your iPhones, let's go through it. Like that's what I would do. I'd call my friend up and I'd be like, you got a dozen salespeople, like I'm coming in, I want them in a room, and I would walk them through the product and I'd watch them use it and I would get feedback. So I mean, I really think that you start with like your core friends, even if it's 5 or 10 people, and then you kind of like keep adding people to it from your core network, and then you start using your friends to push it out to their network, and you just want to keep that momentum. And then there's things you can do like, you know, press events and news and all these things. Well, nobody's going to write about you just because you launch. So you need, you know, something more notable than just launching. Maybe it's a milestone, maybe it's a partnership, maybe it's you know, a new feature that's, you know, that's never been seen before. Maybe it's a famous person, like we announced that we had Mark Cuban on Clarity and Eric Ries and Dave McClure and all these guys. So, you know, it's really just thinking strategically about what do you want to say to who, when, and what are things you can do that's going to help do that. But the key is not to let that affect the product. Like, product's number one. Make sure that it works. It's great. Do all that. But in parallel to that, make sure that you time things so that you can build momentum. Because I've seen a lot of startups try to just optimize for marketing and PR and get a lot of hype, and there's no substance to their product.
Okay.
And you've seen it firsthand. The product that you saw in January versus the one there today, night and day, like 70%. It's just different. We're relentless about improving the product to solve a real problem for our users, and then just keep iterating on that feature.
Okay, so did you like plan out a roadmap? I'm just thinking, for example, if someone is kind of starting now and has planning out their first 6 months, did you plan out a roadmap and like plan in those kind of PR momentum boosts around that, or was it more ad hoc?
It's very fluid. I would say, you know, the guiding principle of the numbers that I look for are retention and engagement. You know, so let's say 20% weekly retention on your product as a cohort, and I've talked about cohorts with you on this, I think, in the last video, or, you know, maybe 20% on a monthly basis. All depends on your business and your market. And then engagement, just ensure that people are getting to that aha moment when they sign up. Like whatever it is you solve as a problem, you know, for us it's call, right? Our core metric is monthly active callers. Like it has to keep going up and to the right, or the product isn't making progress. So, you know, that is the core measuring stick. And then there's kind of like these high level things you want to map out. So like, where do you think those numbers are going to be? And then that'll help you build the features to support those numbers. And then with those features, is there anything newsworthy or anything press related or any kind of events you could launch at or do whatever that's going to map to that? So at a very high level, it's a whiteboard, right? It's like what you see behind me, just some, you know, this is our, I think Laura was, you know, messing around with some PR deadlines or whatever, you know, just like level, here's where it fits. And then figuring out, you know, but you're always adjusting because, you know, you might be a week late with something or whatever, but it's just knowing that you got to look at it. And then, you know, we measure our product in essentially 2-week iterations with a month view. So, but with right now, I would say 6 to 8 weeks of high level, but really 2 weeks of here's the stories that we're going to work on. And then maybe a month of, we know that we can push that later. So,
okay. So, just to repeat that, you kind of look at your product in a 8-week, kind of on a high level over the next kind of 8 weeks?
High level, 3 months.
3 months, okay.
On a granular level, 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay.
And then fill in the gaps on different levels of detail within that 3 months to 2 weeks, just to make sure that we're thinking about things that are going to matter for growth.
Nice, okay, cool. Now, being around you, right, I've seen how much stuff you get done at like an electric pace, right? I'd like to know how you do that. And, you know, you've kind of like evolved this over a number of years. So tell us how you do that, and how, for kind of people who are just starting out, how could they kind of start incorporating some of the things that you've learned to get so much stuff done?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you how I do it, but and then people are gonna say, well, I don't have the resources to do it that way, and then I would argue that you could, and you just choose not to. So let's just assume that I win the argument. This is the way I would like.
Right.
I do 2 things. I work and I hang out with my friends and family. I do nothing else. I don't do my laundry. I don't do the dishes. I don't cook food. I don't cut my lawn. I don't, that is it. If you find me, I'm either at work or hanging out with my family and friends, and that is it. And I have virtual assistants that help me on personal stuff. I have assistants that help me in the company. I hire great people and just get out of their way because they're amazing. So really, that's how I decide what I'm going to work on a day-to-day basis. And then within those tasks, I pretty much look at what are the force multipliers, or these things of leverage that I can do that only I can do, right? That could be PR, that could be product, that could be marketing, that could be hiring, but there's certain things that I can't delegate that are absolutely unique to my background and skill sets. Those are the things I work on.
Yeah.
And, within that, I actually have a lot of focus, and some people would disagree because they see me doing a lot of stuff. But when it comes to like knowing what I should be working on, what I don't, I know exactly what we're doing, and I don't try anything else but that, because, you know, Bill Gross, the founder of Idea Labs, said, you know, focus, 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 because it's better to have focus and be wrong than to be wrong on a lot of things and not know what's wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
No matter what we're doing, there's a focus, and even if it's totally broken, that's cool, because at least we knew it was that.
Yeah.
But a lot of founders, they do six, you know, their product, you can just tell their product last focus. It's like, you're trying to be everything to everybody. It's like, if something ends up working or it doesn't work, what's broken? So for us, it's all about, you know, instead of doing a bunch of PR, we do less PR, but super focused on a core message. You know, we try to simplify things. I like teams. I'd rather have one guy that's a 10x guy. So our team's only 4 people.
Yeah.
Super, considering the traction we got. But each person on the team is absolutely high output, A+ star person. And if they're not, they don't end up staying around Clarity very long, just because they feel like they're not contributing as much as the people around them. And it doesn't mean they're less enthusiastic or less excited about the project or whatever. It's just, it is. And we're relentless, because I think in a startup, your first dozen employees or team members is the most critical hires. And you should, oh yeah, the first 12 are honestly either decides your fate, period, end of point. That's it.
Wow. Okay.
Screw the product, screw the marketing, screw everything else. If you don't get the people right, the first dozen, you're not going to win. If you get the wrong people, I'll bet against you. Like, I just know that you look at PayPal and the people, the early guys there, what they've gone on to do, or, you know, early Facebook guys are like, you know, there's just so many, you see these core teams that then go off and do these amazing things because the first dozen people were just so high caliber.
Really?
That's why they had success.
Awesome. Awesome. And you were saying about focus, focus, focus. All right. So tell me, you get up in the morning, how do you know, like, how do you keep mega focused with all the things that are coming in, people trying to call you, a million things going around in your mind? How do you keep focused, laser focused on that thing to do?
We measure. So I know what I know, like I said, our unique metric is monthly active callers.
Okay.
And I have to question what I should be working on. I just say which ones affect that number.
Okay.
It's really simple. And everybody on our team has their own number. The engineering has their own velocity number for development and product features. You know, Laura and the marketing team has kind of like signups and kind of like the traffic side of things, because that's their core thing.
Yep.
And for me, active callers, because that's product and that's where I spend my time. So if you know kind of what your goals are, it's really easy to prioritize and focus.
Okay.
Most people don't know.
Okay, nice, nice. Okay, so you've built your own 2 startups, and you're also an angel investor and advisor to a couple of other great startups. What is the biggest mistake you see them all make? You see startups that aren't making it make. Does that make sense? Have I explained?
First one is, if within the first year you haven't figured out a product that resonates with the market and you feel like there's traction, you've got to pivot, right?
Okay.
Like you got 12 months from the time you release the product to the point where if it's just not working, then there's just something you can't change and you've got to make a decision. And I feel like 12 months is the right time. Sometimes you don't want to cut it too early because you're still trying to suss it out. But if after 12 months of tinkering and tweaking and changing things, it's just it doesn't have like that, you know, a market, the way I look at product is it's going to be so good that the market's pulling the product into it, right? Like the market will actually say, yes, that, grab it, pull it in. And like, you're like, holy shit, I better add all these features. I got to keep like, cause they're like using it and they want it. And if you can't figure that out within the first 12 months, you really have to sit down and say, okay, this broad problem we're trying to solve is probably not a problem that people have. How do we leverage our team and resources and do something different? At the end of the day, if you have investors, they don't really care what you build. I just, you know, if you're successful, I will forget about the 15 prototypes. I just don't care. I just want to help you be successful. Right. Or if you figure it out, help you move on to the next thing. Because when you're talking early stage investments like I do, you know it's not the product or the idea, it's the person. And I just get excited about being around people that are passionate about what they're doing because they're seeing success, and I want to get that for them or help them get there. So yeah. I always tell people like, hey, if it's not working out, like I even told one founder of a company I invested in to actually resign. Because he just, the product moved in a direction where he had no passion whatsoever.
Wow.
Him and the founder weren't really getting along. And I was like, dude, you're going to do more harm staying, because then there's a void that they can fill because they have funding, and probably do better for that startup. And I'll back you on your next thing, or I'll support you in your, and I mean, he was like, yeah, you're totally right. And so it's very unconventional, but it's just, I guess, because I'm an entrepreneur, I know if you're not excited about that thing you're working on, then that is your secret. That is it. That's your energy source. And if that's not there, then you won't be successful no matter what you do. So just go do something that makes you excited and passionate.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Okay. With going back to say clarity now, right? For when you're doing user acquisition, what has been your number one kind of user acquisition strategy that you would advise people who maybe don't have a huge amount of funding there, you know, they can't just like buy users? What's worked for you?
I think the cheapest form today for just pure cold traffic is still Facebook. You know, 80 cents a visit, or, you know, it might end up being, the problem is $16 a sign up, usually around that, you know, 12, it all depends. You can be really gimmicky with your ads and get people to sign up, but then they're not qualified. Yeah. So, you know, I really believe you need about, you know, let's say 30 to 50 signups per day. And it sounds to me, it doesn't sound like a lot because I've been, you know, doing it for a long time, but to some people, and really just focus on the product. Like, just figure out what are the things we can introduce in the onboarding flow that is very natural to get us to a point where if we get 10 people sign up today through some press or PR or just word of mouth, that we can amplify that a bit. Here's one thing I used to say on stage all the time is, if you're not willing to like send an email to every friend you have and spam them, then you don't have, period, end of point. Like, if you're like, oh, I don't want to bug them, it's like, fuck, stop, just stop, get out of this world. You don't have the appetite to do the things. I'm not saying you have to spam, I'm just saying there's going to be some really uncomfortable things you're going to have to do as a founder. Yeah. And if you're not, ask your friends to check out this thing that you just devoted your time to, that you're really passionate about, if you're not willing to ask them to look at it, I mean, check yourself, you know, you're just going to be in trouble. And a tip to that is you can go on LinkedIn and actually export all your LinkedIn contacts, right? Okay. You can go on export and just use that to seed people in, so that you have like this, you know, 10 to 15 signups per day. You don't want to waste them all in one shot. And then as you tweak the product, it should build on itself to the point where you're doing 30 to 50. And once you get 50, stop. And make sure the product metrics are awesome. Yep. You know, the engagement, retention, and only once you get the engagement retention to a good level, and spend money on paid channels.
Awesome. Didn't know you could export your LinkedIn like that. I'll have to check that out. Like it. Okay, so we're going to start kind of moving towards chatting about clarity, and a nice kind of like transition one would be talking about advisors for your startup, right? How important is getting advisors? Like, when you were starting Clarity this time, who did you say, right, who do I need around me? How did you decide that, and how did you get them?
Well, to me, looking to people that have been successful in that thing that I'm doing for the first time has been part of my DNA since I was 17. Yeah. And I really didn't understand until I was 24. So I did 2 companies in Spirit that were complete failures, lost tens of thousands of dollars. My parents, my brother, just wasted my time. Now, I learned a lot, but it wasn't until Spirit that I realized I should reach out and get some help and find people that were like me doing similar company as Spheric, but in a different level that had 100 employees, et cetera. And it wasn't until I did that I realized, I should really stop listening to my friends, my coworkers, my parents, because as much as they love me and they want to see me do well, their advice is totally biased towards safe. It's actually uneducated, right? They've never built a company, that yet you treat their advice like gold, and it's very dangerous. So getting advice, if you ever thought that you shouldn't, it's just the most ridiculous thing in the world to think that day one the right thing to do every day. Just, you're not that smart, dude. I'm not. Nobody is. That's just not the way it works. So yes, advice is absolutely paramount to everything I've ever achieved in my life, is because of the people that were kind enough to share some time with me, and I'm forever grateful and indebted to them spending that time with me. And that's just a given. Like, I'm not that smart. I hire great people, and I surround myself with people even smarter than me, and they help me think through problems. So the people for Clarity specifically is Eric Ries, the godfather of lean startup.
Hell yeah.
Just Eric's brain works at a different level, and he's an amazing guy. Andrew Chen, guy that is, it's funny, I emailed Andrew, we've been friends, and I was like, I'm doing this new startup, I want you to advisor. And he wrote back, at first he goes, well, I'm interested, but I need some questions answered about, like, when are you, is this your full-time thing? Are you serious about it? And then I wrote back and I said, I just quit my job at Demandforce and walked away from my earnout. And he goes, I'm in. You know what I mean? Like, Dan, are you serious? Because I'm going to be helpful, but I want to make sure that you're invested. And I was like, 100% invested. And then Heaton Shaw.
That's a pretty good advisory board there.
I spent 4 or 5 years getting to know people, being helpful. Those guys I've helped companies that have been involved in. I've shared a lot of ideas that they thought were pretty interesting and they've used. So, but the thing about Heaton that I love, he's one of the few people that will tell me like it is, no holds bar, and that I will listen to. And I think that's the part people get. You can get advice from 100 different places, but the best advice is from somebody that you'll listen to. You can get same words, blah, 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 blah. This person's your dad. This person's a Heaton Shaw, Eric Ries, or Andrew Chen. You're going to listen to these words because of the person saying it. And Heaton, I have so much respect for him and just his hustle and his companies that he's been involved with, his focus, his product sense, his design sense, his marketing background, that, I even though sometimes it's like getting punched in the stomach when he gives me advice, I always give him a call and say, okay, Heaton, here's what I'm working on. What do you think? And it never fails. He always says, this part doesn't make sense to me and you should stop doing that and do this. And I'm like, you're right. And I knew that. Thank you. So it's having guys like that is just invaluable. And you got to reach out to them. A lot of people, I'm an advisor to a lot of companies, I've invested in a lot of companies. They don't take the time to proactively reach out to me. Here's a tip. Do not do this. Do not create a list called investors@company.com and do an email to all of them, giving them updates. And in that email, ask them for stuff. You're an idiot. I don't want to be insulting, but you should do one-on-one.
Is it okay to do both? Is it okay to do both?
No. They're not going to... They're just not. Why bother? Send them an email. Pick up the phone. Call them up. They want to see you successful. People do this to me every day, and I unsubscribe. And then they're like, Dan, you're an advisor. Why are you unsubscribing? I'm like, call me when you have something specific that I can help you with that is relevant to my expertise. If you don't do that, then I actually feel insulted. I feel like you're treating me like just a marketing output, and that's just not cool, because I would never do that to you. Like when I reach out to Andrew and those guys, I use Clarity. I request them. Sometimes they're paid. Most of them, I pay the money, because if I'm not willing to pay, even though they're advisors and they have equity, I just find it fun. We use it, and they give me really sound advice, and it's one-on-one, and it's specific questions to their background and their things. And I just find it a little insulting when people do these. Most people don't send investor updates. So I guess if you do that, it's better than nothing. But if you really want to get the output from it and get your investors engaged, you need to sit down face to face with them. You need to email them personally, directly, and say, here's where I'm at. Here's what I'd love your specific advice for. Like, you got to do that.
Okay. That's good advice. I
Lately with all these incubators, and they this one recently, and I'm gonna have to tell them before this video goes live. They made their companies set up MailChimp and put me on all of their companies' MailChimp investor updates. And it's this like just long, crappy list of stuff that I never read because it's long and my brain kicks off after 140 characters.
Yeah.
And I want to be helpful, but I feel a little insulted. So, I don't know why they do that.
Okay. I gotta do an admission, and I do send out those investor update emails actually, but I do meet them one-on-one as well. But okay.
Do the one-on-one, man.
Yeah. Got
Take
it.
the time.
Got it.
Like 8 investors, like just copy paste. I mean, even if that's all you do is copy paste.
Yeah.
At the beginning, you're a lot better than most startups.
Yeah. Got it. Awesome advice. Okay, so Clarity. So I've used Clarity since day one, right? I would say when I'm saying it to other people, when I'm telling other people about Clarity, which I've told many, I tell them they should be using it, and I actually think it's a type of competitive advantage, right? Knowing about Clarity. Oh, before, maybe you should just do a quick intro about Clarity. Would you like to do the honors? Just tell us really quickly what Clarity is.
A web platform that brokers high value consulting and mentorship calls between business owners and experts.
Yeah. And on Clarity, I have spoken to Eric Rees, which was the most amazing thing. This guy, I'm over in London. Just the fact that I could talk to Eric for like kind of 10, 15 minutes was amazing. I also told a friend, Matt, a Scottish guy, about a week or so ago. And he comes into me a few days later saying that he's just done a call with one of the guys from FreshBooks. Cost him $200, but it was worth every penny. And he won't mind me saying that. He loved it.
From the CMO of FreshBooks. He's an amazing advisor. And we have some, I mean, I feel humbled. Like these guys give up their time to do these calls. A lot of them do it for charity. And, they're there. They're real people. They want to get calls. And I think you're an example of, people that have tried it and used it. And, even if you spend money or not, I just feel like I'm trying to make accessible people that normally couldn't make themselves accessible, regardless of the money. I just feel like I wish I had Clarity when I was 18 starting off. And that's why I'm building it, because I believe that everybody has something to give back. People are inherently good people. They want to help others. There's just no efficient way to do that. And that's the community that we're trying to create at Clarity.
Amazing. So can you, for people who are going to go and check it out now, what's the way to get the most value out of a call? Because I know I've kind of had some calls and they've just been like absolutely the most amazing thing, and then other calls I know what mistake I made when there was one that I didn't think was quite as valuable. So I suppose what do you think is the best way to get the most value?
Well, I think there's kind of three components: finding the right person, how to get a call back from them, and then actual doing the call. So finding the right person, a lot of people don't know this. You can search by location. So if you put in Canada, UK, whatever, so you can search by locations. So that'll help, because a lot of times you already know some people that are around you and you'd love to get to know them better. Clarity is not for networking. It's not for raising money. It's really for, I got a question, I need an answer. But obviously these things happen. People have founders on Clarity, raise money. I mean, I don't want to say it because I don't want it to happen, because you're not supposed to. The person calling is never allowed to ask for anything from the expert. But if at any point the expert feels like there's really great chemistry and they want to engage that person outside of Clarity, that's the rule. That's the guideline. Cool. Right person, search by location, search by topics. We have featured categories so people can click through. Those people are handpicked by me. And then if you really don't know anybody to talk to, you can post the need. It's the top right corner of the search page, and you can just specify, like, I need to talk to somebody that has this kind of background, marketplace, two-sided markets, pricing, whatever it is, that specific thing you want, and we'll go find those people and recommend them to you privately. And then I think posting the right reason for the call. So a lot of times people are like, entrepreneurship, startups, like there's three parts that make a good reason. We're going to productize this a bit. Is who are you? So quickly, I'm a startup founder, raise money, whatever you can say. Like, tell me who you are. Question about blah, blah, blah. So I have a question about product design, social, viral. And then if you can fit it in there, it's only 140 characters. What is it about that person that you feel is the right reason? Like your background in this company seems super relevant. Like show them that you've done a little research, that you pick them and you just didn't blanket copy paste. And then the third part is having a great call. And I think having a great call is quickly asking the expert, is it okay if I take 30 seconds to tell you? You know, people just assume that the expert actually read, if you posted a link, that they went to it, that they know who you are, that they looked at your site. I mean, I just assume that they don't know anything. So here's what, again, reiterate, here's who I am, quickly. Here's the problem I solve. Like, know that, practice, you know, here's the name of the company. A lot of people forget to name their startup. And here's the question I have for you.
Yeah.
And then stop. And let the expert drive the conversation, because they might have other questions they want to ask. And don't ever disagree with somebody, or if you feel like the call's just not going good, then just say like, wow, thanks for your time, I really appreciate it, I'm going to run with this, and thanks again. Just hang up. Like, don't feel like you got to spend 20 minutes on the call. If you feel like there's no chemistry and they're just not giving you anything good, I just say, you know, wow, I really appreciate that answer. That's exactly what I was looking for, and just hang up.
Yeah.
But end of the call. They'll probably say, is there anything else I can answer? And you say, nope, that was it. That's awesome. I actually got to run to another meeting. Thank you so much. And I think those three things, you're going to have a lot of success on Clarity, and you're going to be blown away by the thing you usually call people for advice on is not usually the thing that really helps your business. It's another part of the conversation where you say something and they go this, or they mention something and you're like, wow, right? Because a lot of people don't even know what the problem is. They just know, like, I need more users, or the product's not getting traction, or whatever it is, but they don't know what questions to ask. So, you know, sometimes leave it a bit more, be specific as to what you want to talk about, but the conversation go where it's got to go.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I must have done like at least 50 calls at this point, right? And I would say the only one time that I kind of hung up and went, that wasn't, because at 49 it's been amazing, right? I've been so pumped after it. And then one time I was like, what did I do? What could I do better for next time I'm doing a call? And it was because I wasn't specific about what I wanted. I think it was like, how do I think bigger, or something like that, right? Which is like so generic, but I just had that in my mind that I needed to think bigger, right? And it was really difficult for the guy at the other end in like kind of 5 minutes to kind of go, you know, well, what are you trying to do? So yeah, every time, you know, when I've been specific, amazing. So awesome. Well, cheers, Dan. Last one before we go. So people starting up now, if there was one piece of advice you give them to take away that they should like start doing today that will help them with their startup, early stage startup, what would it be?
Build the back-end activity stream. And I've wrote about this. Just Google Dan Martell activity stream cohort metrics. Even if you don't do the cohort part, just do the activity stream. You want to know what users are doing. And if you don't have that visibility, my brain doesn't even function. I can't even, you know, every day you wake up and you just make, I mean, you need to see, and you'll learn activity stream is essentially what are the actions your users are taking, is you want to see, are they doing that thing I thought they would? What are they entering for those values? And it's just really a great way to educate the product, because at the end of the day, your product is number one. You should be chanting product. Marketing and hype and all that stuff is things you do in parallel, but you got to nail the product and solve a real problem. And the way to do that is build the activity stream so you can see what your users are doing and see where they're getting stuck, and then engage with them.
Awesome. Dan, great having you back on. Great to chat to you. And yeah, I know you've got little mini Martell now. How's things changed? Like, how do you find that?
Things change because, you know, I have a lot more empathy, I think, for a lot of things. And, you know, but really, I was spending a lot of time with the family before, and now I guess I just put people together. So, you know, like this weekend, we went out as a big road trip around this thing called Cabot Trail. So we were like 3 generations of brothers and friends, and we all went together as a group so that we can all see each other. So, you know, there's ways to get more time back in your day, but you know, I was worried that it would be a distraction. It's totally not. It's enhanced my life. I mean, he's my world. I'm a better entrepreneur for it. And I bring him to the office, and just to me, it into everything I do, and awesome.
Amazing. Well, Dan, thanks a million. It's great having you back on again, and chat to you soon, dude.
Soon.